Hello, my name is Leah Spinelli. We are group number 2, and we have Beijing, China, as our city. Beijing is the capital of China, and it is regarded as the political, cultural, and educational center of China. A few economic points to note are that Beijing's economy is ranked among the most developed and prosperous cities in China. As of 2013, Beijing hosts more Fortune 500 companies than any other city in the world. It is divided into 6 economic zones where these companies flourish. A few key geographic points for Beijing are the Forbidden City, Tiananmen Square, and the Mausoleum of Mao Zedong. The Forbidden City is a small city where China's royals once lived and ruled over China. 24 emperors and their families lived here until 1911. The Forbidden City can now be toured, and people can view preserved rooms filled with the treasures that the royals once would have owned. Tiananmen Square is the city square in the center of Beijing that is named after the entrance to the Forbidden City. Here is where the Mausoleum of Mao Zedong, the Great Hall of People, and the National Museum of China are located. This is also the location of protests led by students that occurred in 1989, in which the Chinese government killed hundreds of demonstrators. The Mausoleum of Mao Zedong is the final resting place of Zedong. He was the chairman of the Communist Party of China. This mausoleum is located in the middle of the Tiananmen Square. Will is now going to take you over the historical overview of the government and religion.
21st century China is rapidly modernizing, especially in Tier 1 cities, but there are still several traditional elements at play. For starters, 86% of the population in Beijing practices Chinese folk religions, Taoism, Confucianism, animism, and other traditional religions. Freedom of religion is in the Chinese constitution, so it's not abnormal for a Chinese person to practice multiple religions or take elements from various religions in their personal religious practice. What this means for marketers is that religious practices vary quite greatly between one family to another family or one individual to another individual, making it very difficult to key in on one aspect of religion. One major religious site in China is the Temple of Heaven, where many people go to worship or just to look at the site. China's culture and economy are also changing. Outside of Tier 1 cities, Cantonese and other traditional languages are spoken, but inside Tier 1 cities, the main language is Mandarin, making it a little bit easier for marketers to market to one language. The main thing with the economy that's changing is it is much more free than it used to be, say, 15, 20 years ago. There are still parts of communism that influence it, including a government that often bears down a little bit too hard on free enterprise. But free enterprise is growing, especially in the cities. This is making it easier for the middle class to grow, and not only is the middle class growing, but the upper middle class is growing. Some studies have suggested that by 2022, the mass middle class will decrease significantly, while the upper middle class will increase significantly. This means that there will be more disposable income among the people of China, and marketers can swoop in and start selling new products, making it a little bit easier for products to come from outside of China into China.
The product or service in Beijing that we chose to look into are laundry services and the products that are associated with them. When looking into the recent behavior of the middle class, they provided clues showing that consumers were more likely to buy things such as laptops, digital cameras, and specialized household items such as laundry softeners. Laundry softeners jumped out to our group as something that was unusual. In America, I don't see how many people would consider this a specialized product. So we decided to look into this further. This led us to finding that in a recent survey that was conducted by McKinsey & Company, laundry softeners were purchased by 56% of the upper middle class consumers, compared with just 36% of the mass middle. In Beijing, most people do not do their own laundry, due to the fact that they do not have dryers in their households. Instead, they hang dry their clothing, which Matt is going to talk about more later on. In addition, we found that Beijing consumers are more likely to purchase American brand laundry products instead of Chinese brands. Tide Pods seem to be particularly popular among Chinese consumers. Later, Demi and Matt are going to go more into depth about how a majority of those in Beijing send their laundry out for service and touch on the few people who do own dryers in their homes and why.
After compiling a lot of data from online sources, we reached out to Brendan Dobbins, who actually spent 18 months in Beijing to learn firsthand how laundry is done there. From our interview, we learned that there were next to no dryers, as everyone hangs up their clothes to dry after washing them in the sink, even if they were in university. The only place you might find a dryer is in a wealthier person's house, but also that wealthier people typically just use laundry service in Beijing if they have the money. Lastly, we learned that Beijingers are all about buying in bulk, with the ultimate goal being to save money. After gathering all the information we could, we then broke down what laundry, both as a product and service, meant for customers in the business model canvas. We found that the customer segments range across all associated economic groups, but the focus for laundry products is mostly on lower and middle classes who cannot afford to utilize laundry services and wash their clothes themselves. Meanwhile, the laundry services were more toward wealthier people in Beijing. Channels for laundry products in Beijing are primarily through wholesale and retail stores, so long as they offer large bulk products for people to purchase. Demi will go in depth later on channels for laundry services, however. Lastly, we found that Chinese laundry products are big among less wealthy classes due to their cheapness, but that American products that have been heavily modified to be Chinese are more popular among wealthy people in Beijing. Up next, Demi will explore how a Chinese laundry product or service might work in the
The
US.
USA and Beijing have relatively similar specialized household products such as laundry softeners. Upper middle class consumers were surveyed in Beijing, and 56% of them purchased these items. Looking at laundry specifically, most people in Beijing get their clothes professionally cleaned by a laundry service or by a maid. They have to provide their own laundry products, which is different from the laundry services in America. To make that work in America, people could bring their own laundry products when they get their clothing professionally cleaned, but for the most part, Americans do their own laundry. People in Beijing also don't use dryers, while people in America wouldn't survive without one unless they wanted to make that lifestyle change. Currently, Zhaozun Libby Enterprise Group is the leading provider of laundry products with a market share of 19%. They provide bleaches, dishwashing liquids, air fresheners, detergent liquids and powders, toilet cleaners, toothpaste, etc. Their detergent powder is packaged in woven sacks and closely resemble Tide Pods. These products would definitely work in the US, except people would use this product themselves instead of bringing it to a professional service. They also would most likely choose Tide over a foreign brand.